What it is? Okay, so welcome to this webinar on the MA Holocaust History, Experience and Heritage. So the way we are going to do this is to have a short presentation at the beginning by myself. So I'm the director of the Parks Institute. Then Yannick Grita, who is the MA convener, and then Alex Potter, who is one of our current MA students and who will share her experience of the MA. So let me, and then of course we will have hopefully plenty of time to take questions and to answer any questions you might have on the MA program. Okay, so let me stop. So my name is Claire Lefort. I am the current director of the Parks Institute. Let me find the slides. And I want to say a few words about James Parks and what the Institute is. So James Parks was a Christian clergyman who was one of the first to recognize clearly the danger of Nazism, to warn of its impact on the Jews of Europe. He was a tireless fighter against anti-Semitism in all forms, including from within Christianity, and he helped rescue Jewish refugees during the 1930s. And he campaigned for the Jews of Europe during the Holocaust. During the Second World War, he helped found the Council of Christians and Jews, and he worked throughout his career in promoting religious tolerance and mutual respect between those of all faith and none. He was pioneering in his academic work after 1945 to understand the history of anti-Semitism and the history of the Jewish people, and in also his work for reconciliation. Parks in the 60s wanted to donate his library to a university so that future generations could develop his research. And a home was found for his materials at the University of Southampton in 1964, and that's how the Parks Institute started. So his library formed the core of what is now a world-famous library for the history of Jewish, non-Jewish relations, anti-Semitism, and the Holocaust. The archives and the special collections of the University of Southampton also holds hundreds of collections of papers of Jewish organizations and individuals curated by specialist librarians and archivists relating directly and indirectly to the Holocaust. So the Institute, the library, and the archives provide a unique resource of people and materials for our program and for the MA Holocaust. Since its creation, the Institute has grown and has come actually a long way in realizing the vision of James Parks. So on the academic side, the Institute consists of academic members whose expertise covers antiquity to the 21st century and is very wide-ranging in geographical scope. Among the specialized interests of its members are the study of the ancient world, migration, Eastern Europe, Holocaust studies, Northern Africa, heritage and cultural history. The Institute is also home to three academic journals, Jewish Culture and History, Patterns of Prejudice, Holocaust Studies. We have undergraduate modules, but we also have a nice group of PhD students. 3 of them graduated recently here, so it's a very lively and stimulating environment to study in. And the Institute also organizes a range of public engagement and outreach events to follow James Parks' legacy and to tackle anti-Semitism, racism, and prejudice. So it brings our expertise to many in the community, including in schools and colleges, in adult education, and also through public events and arts and cultural initiatives. You can learn more about our activities in our annual review or newsletter. I will put the link later in the chat. So the MA Holocaust History, Experience, Heritage is delivered by the unique interdisciplinary team of scholars based in the Parks Institute And in the spirit of James Sparks, the program seeks to understand both the dynamics of racial prejudice and genocide destruction and the richness and diversity of the Jewish communities that flourished across Europe to the 30s. So you will be taught by specialists of the pre-Holocaust period, historians, so you see a few of them here, but you will also be taught by specialists of the Holocaust, including Janek Grita, who joined us in September, Nia Gregor, who is a specialist of modern Jewish history, and Tony Kushner, who is a specialist of Anglo-Jewish history, Holocaust memory, and refugee studies. Our MA program seeks to combine, therefore, a focus on the crimes of the Nazis, their collaborators and accomplices, with examination of the experience of Jewish communities across Europe. But it also seeks to explore the many histories of Jewish migration, refugee movement, rescue and rehabilitation during the Holocaust, and its immediate aftermath. So it has, as Janek will explain, also a very strong focus on the longer histories of commemoration, memorialization, education, and outreach. It also has an interdisciplinary aspect, so you will be taught by people from the English, film, and music department who will teach the history of the representation of the Holocaust in film, literature, music. Working closely with archivists, librarians, museum specialists, and other curators, both at Southampton and in partner institutions, it seeks to develop Southampton's students' own capacities to further that work of education in diverse areas of museum and heritage work, if you wish to. And it will be, again, on a tradition long established in the Parks Institute of steering students going forward in these various trajectories. So it could lead you to a PhD, but also to work in the heritage sector, education, lifelong learning, digital humanities, and many other things. So I will now pass on to Janek, who will tell you more about the program itself and the teaching.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you for this introduction and explaining a little bit about who we are as an institute. I want to build on what Claire said and tell you a little bit more about how the program is designed and what are our aims. I will start briefly recapping already what Claire alluded to. Our aims with the program when we were designing it, putting it together, was to give you a very good grounding and advanced knowledge and understanding of the Holocaust as an event, obviously, but also about the richness of the Jewish culture before it and the attempts to commemorate the Holocaust after it. This is particularly close to this last aspect to me. My research is on memory as well, so I'm very interested in highlighting, showing how the Holocaust is what one of my colleagues called an unfinished history, a history that the killings might have finished in 1945, but the consequences of them are still present in our lives and our societies. And so looking at that Holocaust as something that impacts who we are in Europe, who we are globally as well to some extent, is something that we do in our program as well. Another of the aims here is obviously, as you can imagine, prepare those of you who are interested towards the further step into academia. If you are inclined academically and you want to pursue a postgraduate study, this program will be a very good foundation to it. You will get a good grasp of the archives that we have in Southampton, but also that are stored in England, in the UK more broadly, and you will have a very good skill in how to work with various archival collections, oral testimonies, variety of other sources. But another thing that is very important for us is to make sure that this program doesn't push you only one way. If you are interested in PhD, we will prepare you for it. But if you're also interested in taking your knowledge of the Holocaust that we give you and, for example, educate people or work in outreach organizations, we will also prepare you for that. So this is inbuilt into our program. And I'm not just saying this because we can imagine that if you know about the Holocaust, you can do a lot of things. I'm saying all those things because they are reflected in how the program is actually designed in the modules we have, or in the modules we teach and you can choose from. So this is a breakdown of the module as they currently stand. I think I am obliged legally to say that there might be changes because of staffing changes. This is pretty standard stuff at universities. Obviously, we are a live bunch of researchers. Sometimes people go on sabbaticals, so there are always minor changes, but this is roughly how the program looks from year to year. In the first semester, we have 2 modules. One is called The Genocide of European Jews, and another one is Jewish Life and Anti-Semitism. This module is a team module which focuses on what happens before the Holocaust. Who are the Jewish people that will be exterminated? What are the cultures? So it gives you a broader understanding of what was lost. The genocide module is taught by one of my colleagues, by Neil, who Claire already introduced here, and he focuses on giving you a very in-depth understanding of how Holocaust plays out in multiple different contexts, in Germany, in Poland, in Romania, in many places. So it's a very kind of in-depth module. Both of those modules are taught only through seminars, so we will not preach at you, we will talk with you about the stuff you read and you prepare on your own. And these are these are seminar modules, and you will have, roughly speaking, if you remember correctly, 4 hours of seminars for both of those modules. So this is a pretty intense semester. In the second semester, we introduce some choices. We want you to explore in the second semester more of the memory, the public history, the aftermath. So, for example, we want you to choose either a module on the art, film, and literature and music, all the module codes after the Holocaust. The first one is more of a cultural history. The second one is more of a social history, but they both show you the consequences of the Holocaust. Then there is the module by Claire on public history, in which you will go to museums and archives, meet with school teachers to understand how Holocaust is taught and presented to multiple audiences in different contexts. And then there are all the additional options. Field trip this year was, I think, especially popular. I think all of our students went to the field trip. For the field trip, this is a very interesting module. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a second. But you can also choose from different modules offered by the history department. So the advanced research in whatever our colleagues in history offer. And you can also take other modules from humanities, and that can include a language as well, if you're so inclined. So the module has a very strong core of the things that we think are very important, but we also want to give you a little bit of choice where it is possible so that you can explore your interest. And naturally, the program culminates in a dissertation, which you start writing more or less right now, and then work on it through the summer of your year here with us. And this is based on your individual research. You can go to archives, you can explore existing testimonies, work with images or whatever else you choose, and we prepare you for that quite extensively. If you are interested in studying part-time with us, you will obviously take only some of those modules every year. So, for example, in first semester of first year, you will take the Genocide of European Jews. Then a year later, in the autumn semester, you will take the Jewish Life. And correspondingly, you will take public history. And then in second year, Holocaust in art or after the Holocaust. So there is some kind of room for maneuver there as well. We offer this program both part-time and full-time. We want this module to be as hands-on as possible. On the one hand, it is a strong academic module program with a lot of essay writing, a lot of academic discussions in seminars, but we also interweave other skills development opportunities in this as well. Claire already mentioned that we have a very unique archive, and our special collection is quite renowned for documents it holds. And you will have a chance to work with colleagues from special collections from the first weeks of the module. Some of our seminars, some of our classes actually happen in special collections, and colleagues from archive teach you how to handle documents, how to describe them for audiences, how to exhibit them as well. So this kind of handling of collections, work in archives is part of the module as well. We try to mix the very classical academic assessment, like essays, with something a little bit more out there. So, for example, for the study trip, we ask you to write a travel guide and a travel diary. For one of the modules, for the public history module, we will ask you to curate an object. So exhibit something from our archive to a general audience. So you will develop those skills that can be very, very useful in your future career, whatever that career might be, or might be just good skill to have if you're just interested in the kind of academic study as well. We have plenty of study visits programmed in the module, and that list is probably going to grow for future years. So I think tomorrow our students are going to Vienna Library, if I remember correctly. They've already been to Imperial War Museum a couple of years ago. And naturally, there is also the field trip. I put the field trip here in the section of hands-on approaches because the field trip is fully organized by you. We allocate you a little bit of a budget for that, and then you choose where you want to go. This year, the students went to Poland, but you can also go to Germany or any other place which has some kind of Holocaust past and Holocaust sites. You select the sites, you organize the trip, you get in touch with people, book the hotels, and do everything else. So develop some of the skills in that way as well, and learn through kind of doing, not only through reading. To cap off my part of the presentation, I want to briefly walk you through the nitty-gritty of application and funding and the kind of financial support we offer. I've put on the poster here, which you might have already seen because it has the QR code, but we will also share some of the links later in chat, which will have details about all the procedures and explanation about the deadlines and procedures again as well. But to briefly walk you through the main, most important things. The application has a deadline at the beginning of July, in front of July. So by that date, if you're interested in studying with us, you need to create a personal statement, write a personal statement, and also obviously fill in the forms with all the great details and stuff like that. The standard expectation is here 4:1, but obviously the statement plays quite an important role in our selection process as well. So even if you're not on course or not have a 2:1, do apply, and the statement might still wait your way anyway. The fees are... There are some animations happening in the slides here, but we're back on my slide. The fees this year are for the UK students, £9,250, and for the international students, 24,200. But we also offer some financial support. We have a couple of scholarships for this year. We will have 2 scholarships bearing the name of James Sparks of £6,500 each, and 2 of the Sayers family, 1,000 each. For those scholarships, you have to have an offer from us. And then on the 15th of July, we will ask you to submit a short statement which explains the vision for your research that you want to do with us, and in which we want you to tell us a little bit more about yourself. And based on those, we will allocate the funding as well. So there is a little bit of support from us to study as well. So this is my part of the presentation. Now Alex will tell you a little bit more about the experience she had with us this year. Thanks, guys.
Hi, so as Yannick said, I'm Alex. I'm one of the MA students, and joining me here are Maddie and Ben in the call. So I'm the MA ref, and I just thought I'd talk a bit about our experiences. So it's probably best to note that I did my undergraduate degree here. So I worked with both Claire and Neil, who are both prominent members of Parks throughout my undergraduate degree. But it's such a welcoming environment. It's been brilliant to work with. Yannick's been new this year, so has Naomi, and everyone's been so brilliant to have along with it. So I thought I'd just start with the teaching and modules, though I think Yannick and Claire have kind of stolen everything I was mostly going to say about them. But I'm sure we all appreciate that lovely picture of Yannick I've put in the middle, which I was told that if I put on this, I would get a 3rd. So we're risking my degree for this, everyone. So one thing I just wanted to say about the teaching and modules that maybe Claire and Yannick haven't probably gone into as much is about the assessments. Obviously, that's kind of what you're doing these modules for. And I think what the real win about kind of choosing to do your MA here is that you have this freedom to choose what you want to do your assessments on, and this breadth of knowledge within Parks. For example, in my module with Yannick, I decided to do mine on Russian pogroms in 1903 to 1905, which I had never studied before. But because of the breadth of Parks, I was able to go up to one of the members and just sit and have a chat with them and go, right, I'm really interested in this. Let's try and figure out an essay for it. And so that was a brilliant experience. I got to learn lots of new different things and really develop my kind of knowledge as a researcher as well. And as Yannick said, you know, the course can be intense. It is an academic course at the end of the day, but there is lots of time for kind of socializing, for, you know, seeing as we do silly things in our seminars sometimes, like Yannick doing weird things, or we have conversations about all sorts of random stuff. So whilst it's academically intense, it has been a brilliant opportunity to work with so many different people throughout Parks, and the team taught modules have been especially brilliant throughout. Okay, and so then next we're kind of moving on to field trips. As Yannick and Claire have mentioned, we went to Poland, so you can see me, Ben and Maddie there in all these different selfies that Claire got us to take. And so you can see we had a brilliant time in Poland. We went for 5 days, which was a whirlwind tour. It was very, very quick. We went from Luton Airport. We only got back last week. And so what we did with Parks, and what was so special about going with Parks, was we were able to use the Institute's connections to meet other people that were in Poland. So, for example, you can see us having a tour in the Ghetto Monument. And that was a person we met through the Parks Institute that we were able to get in touch with. And she gave us a whole tour around the Warsaw Ghetto. And these sorts of things would not be possible without the work of Parks and the connections we have. You know, alongside that, we had a great time, you know, doing some casual things, like we all went out for pierogies, and you get to really embrace kind of the Polish culture like we did, though. And you can really understand kind of the places you're writing about. And I think what really struck me, Ben and Maddie, was kind of when we were all sat on trains and things, just thinking about all the different stuff we've read over the last few years when we've been studying the Holocaust, and how you really take it in that moment whilst you're just sitting and pondering. It's those sorts of moments that are invaluable that I've had at Parks and through the MA Holocaust. The next part, if it comes, is obviously the Parks Institute. So we do lots of different things. You can see me and Ben there in a Be Real, which I can tell he's not happy with me for sharing. So that was us on our Hands on Humanities Day. So that was a really interesting experience, because we got to go into the Avenue campus and speak to lots of different families about the kinder transport and the repercussions of that for British policy. And it was one of those things where we would have, you know, 4-year-olds that we would discuss this with, and it was a really bizarre experience that you would not get outside of Parks or outside of this MA without these opportunities to discuss these sorts of things. You can also see in the middle the Yiddish, which again is another brilliant part of Parks, that Claire's currently teaching me and Maddie Yiddish, which I never in my life thought I would be learning. And when I went home and told my mother I was learning that, she went, "What on earth are you doing?" But yeah, it's those sorts of things and extracurricular things you get to do with this MA that make it so much more than just writing an essay, giving a presentation, or things like that. And so to kind of follow on from that, if my thing moves, I'll just discuss kind of life outside the MA. Now you can see all the pictures of me and my random friends. And I just wanted to emphasize that whilst we talk about, you know, all the academic stuff, the field trips, there is a life outside the MA. Southampton is a great city to live in. You've got Portswood, which is rough, but it's got some character about it. And then you've got, you know, the city centre, you've got great restaurants, you've got right in the middle there's a picture of the History Society that we've worked with on a few different events. That's the annual pub crawl that I went on. And I just wanted to emphasise that there is so much more to the MA and Parks, that you get all these opportunities outside of this brilliant MA as well. And so yeah, you will have a life, don't worry. If you sign up, you will you know, you won't, you know, just be studying the Holocaust all the time, even if it feels like that sometimes. But yeah.
Well, yes, but
yeah, I think that's me.
Thank you so much, Alex and Yannick. Yeah, so you have Alex Dieter if you want to talk to her directly to make sure that she's not inventing. And you have the link to the website, but we will put it in the chat. And you can contact us directly. So Yannick, Nia, or myself, if you have any additional question after this webinar. I will maybe